Hi, this is Jeff Stone of Grandpa's Pride Barbecue from the Panhandle of Florida, and you are listening to the Barbecue Central Show.
Start the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Good evening and welcome to the Really Big Barbecues. This is the show that talks about all things that are important to the world of barbecue and grilling. The show originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, Bomb City, USA, Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I'm your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evenings, a live fire, fun, and frivolity show. If you would like to get in contact with the show this evening, or you would like to follow the show during off-show hours, here's how you do all that.
You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. Follow us on all the social media channels at BBQ Central Show. And be sure to subscribe to the show podcast feed on your favorite podcast platform.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening in case you get the newsletter, which you can sign up for on the main page of the website now, as I showed you a couple weeks ago. So if you haven't done so already, please sign up for the show newsletter around 5 p.m. Eastern. You will get a heads up on what's happening in the show later that evening, and that's typically all you will ever find from a newsletter from here on this show. Every once in a while, great deal I got to tell you about, but so far and few between. It's usually just the one at 5, and then you get a reminder email right before 9 p.m. Eastern that the show's starting. If you care to tune in live, otherwise you can just go ahead and do it on podcast like most of you do anyway. So here's what's happening in case you get that newsletter. 14 minutes past the first hour, we'll find a quarterly visit from barbecue icon Stephen Reichlin of Barbecue Bible fame, Project Smoke, Project Fire, Planet Smoke, everything that's live fire. Stephen's a part of it, or researching it, or traveling a trail that has it amongst it. And we'll catch up with him here in a few. 35 past the first hour, a monthly visit from the chief correspondent of Barbecue Business and creator of CookoutNews.com, Wes Wright. Plenty of new things to talk about. When Wes shows up 35 past the first hour, that'll bring a close to the first hour. Then we will move to the second hour. We will find a quarterly visit from the creator of the Hey Grill Hey brand, a media maven in her own right, recipe creator extraordinaire, Susie Bullock. There could be a Triple T site. In fact, I was emailing with aforementioned Triple T, and he said, we will be there. Now, the last time we will be there, it was Susie, which is fine. She's the draw, of course. But I love me some Triple T. And he was busy doing another podcast or being a guest on another podcast or something along those lines, if my memory serves me correctly. They missed the first appearance in 2025. So this would have been, as the year was closing, 2024. So, excited to catch up with the Bullocks. We have some open time after them. Plenty to talk about. I've had an executive physical yesterday. I'll talk about that. Have some other things to talk about as well. So, whatever free time we have left after Susie and Todd, we'll roll into some housekeeping items. Don't forget, you can follow me socially, Instagram, the X, the TikToks, the Snappy Snaps, and the LinkedIns, all with the handle at BBQ Central Show. And, of course, we say good evening to those of you watching tonight through one of our video streaming platforms. You can go to facebook.com/BBQ Central Show, or you can watch through YouTube, which is youtube.com/@BBQ Central Show, where we have a new YouTube poll question of the week, and we're asking everybody this, including all guests. Did you know that both Memphis in May and Smoke Slam happened this past weekend? And currently, 67% of you are saying yes. I almost missed it, and then, of course, everybody was telling me that they were going down to Memphis in May starting Wednesday, Thursday of last week, not to exclude our pal Matt Osmond from Tennessee, embedded correspondent. And then, because phones listen, everything smart in your house listens, the feed starts populating with what's happening down in Memphis, blah, blah, blah. So you could miss it by the end of the weekend. Results of the poll question from last week. You think Brad Leiniger will make it into the 2025 Barbecue Hall of Fame? Believe it or not, it ended up being a 50-50.
Hey, I trouble you for a
Oh, yeah, Maggie. 50-50. The first time we have ended officially at deadlock, which makes my day. I love everything about 50-50. 50-50. Anybody place that? I know my friend Jason Kaplan could. All right, we'll start here tonight, and I don't usually start with barbecue competition talk, but I will this week. I want to congratulate the overall grand champion of Smoke Slam, $50,000 for winning that title. Robbie Royal from Team Rescue Smokers. They also won the pulled pork category. Winning that category gets you $15,000. They also took fourth place overall in ribs. Coming in fourth place overall in ribs and Smoke Slam gets you $7,500. I'm no mathematician, but let's go ahead and quickly do the math here. 50 plus 15 is 65, and 7,500 is 72.50 for the weekend if you need them. Superior take. By the way, Smoke Slam saw a 35% increase in teams over the inaugural event last year. So that event seems to be continuing to grow and get interest from teams who want to show off their cooking skills and also have a shot at winning what could be on the precipice, and I don't use these terms lightly, a fuck ton of money at a barbecue competition. 72.5. I think that's actually less than the team that won it last year. I don't even know. Who cares what the name of the team was last year? I think they won more than that, if I'm not mistaken. I think they won 2 categories. But winning overall gets you 50, winning a category gets you 15, and fourth place gets you 7,500. That's more than some overall purses are in KCBS these days. Also, across town, Memphis in May took place. Walking away with the overall grand championship this year is Heath Riles of Heath Riles Barbecue. I've reached out to Heath to try to put a segment together here in the next few weeks, so we'll see how that works out. However, if you watch Memphis in May and you see who's been getting to the finals the past few years, Heath has been right there a number of times, winning the ribs category, I believe 3 out of the last 5 years or 3 out of the last 4 years. It's been a number in a short period of time. And in 2025, as it did in 2023, ribs takes the overall grand championship. Perhaps there is a ribs trend building at Memphis in May winning grand championship, because until the past 3 years, ribs hadn't won grand champion in a long time, like 22 years. And now it's hitting 2 out of the last 3. So congratulations to Heath and the whole team over at Heath Riles Barbecue. Sorry for the senior moment. Now, we have to see who's going to show up potentially for a post-event recap. I mean, the team is huge. Dare I say extensive. Friend of show, Bob Trudnak, happens to be a part of that World Championship winning team now. So glad to see Ribs starting to take the overall win again at Memphis in May. Again, long time drought before 2 years ago, and now 2 out of the last 3 years you have Ribs winning. I'll keep you updated on the segment with Heath Hall as Heath Hall. You like that blast from the past, everybody? Is Heath Hall does he even still in barbecue anymore? You remember Pork Barrel Barbecue, Heath Hall, one of the guys there. Heath Riles is what I'm talking about. So keep you updated on the Heath Riles potential interview, everybody. All right, Stephen Reichlin is in the green room. I'll get my mental faculties together. But before I do that, and before we get to Stephen, I'll talk to you about Pits and Spits. If you're serious about your grilling game, then you need to check out my pals over at Pits and Spits. Let's kick things off with the Pits and Spits Griddle. Gas top griddle combines the power of a traditional grill with the versatility of a flat top griddle. Engineered with precision and crafted from top quality materials, this versatile griddle set to revolutionize your outdoor cooking experience. Constructed a 304 marine grade stainless steel and a fully welded design. The grill comes with 4 burners to accurately manage your heat zones and gets blistering hot with 80,000 BTUs. Made with that Pits and Spits signature quality, griddle is designed to last for generations. Now, for those of you building your ultimate outdoor kitchen, you have to check out the built-in pellet grill. Designed for the discerning grill master who demands top-tier performance, this grill, the centerpiece of any serious outdoor kitchen, from low and slow smoking to a high-heat searing, this grill can handle it all. Brisket, ribs, pizzas, veggies, you name it, this grill can cook it. And with the Pits and Spits legendary craftsmanship, you can be confident it's built to last. With stainless steel construction and a design that's as reliable as it is versatile. So, are you ready to take your cooking to the next level? Head on over to pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central and use promo code BBQ Central at checkout for a free spice pack with orders over $500 or more. Again, the website all spelled out, all those letters, pitsandspits.com with the double T on the pits and the spits.com/BBQ Central, and then promo code BBQ Central at checkout for a free spice pack with orders over $500. Easy to do on that website. It's quality. Last generations, your kids are fighting over it. You'll be dead. And laughing a little bit in the grave, knowing that your kids are fighting over your Pits and Spits cooker, whatever it is you get. How about some Stephen Reichlin coming up? Stand by.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by Fireboard, makers of Fireboard 2, Fireboard Pro, Fireboard Spark, Fireboard Beacon, and the wireless Fireboard Pulse. When you use the Fireboard app, you have total access to all devices anywhere in the world as long as there's a connection. Find out more by visiting fireboard.com or call them with questions at 816-945-2232. Talk to Ted Conrad today and Ryan Saboro, by the way, from Pittsburgh, lining up both of those gents for future interviews here sooner than later. My first guest tonight, an icon in the industry, perhaps the icon in the industry. Host of TV shows, author of books, teachers at Barbecue University, and winners of James Beard Awards. Quarterly guest and my pal, and not yours, Stephen Reich. Hey, Steve.
How you doing? Good to see you.
We have a YouTube poll question of the week that we're asking everybody, including all guests. You're a guest, so we'll ask you, of course, leading off the show. Did you know that Memphis in May and Smoke Slam happened this past weekend?
You know, it kind of escaped me.
Oh, Wow. All right. Well, it's escaped also 43% of the YouTube Barbecue Central show voting public. So that's quite a bit more than I thought. It was almost snuck up on me as well. The thing that I'm convinced about, we talked a little bit about technology earlier in the morning. I'm going to wrap it back around to a little bit more technology. I think every smart device in your house, speaker, phone, tablet, you name it, constantly on the passive listen. So I must have said something about Memphis in May, or I might have even thought it out loud in silence. And one of those devices heard it, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's populating in my Instagram feed, in my Twitter feed, in my Facebook page. And all of a sudden, I didn't forget that Memphis in May was going on, but I didn't really remember it until about Thursday, until my feed started populating. So are you worried about speaking out loud in your own home anymore?
Absolutely. Yeah, we unplug our Alexas except in case of emergency.
Really?
But it is kind of a coincidence, you go into a store with your iPhone in your pocket, and all of a sudden you start receiving all these ads for merchandise at the store. No, I think we surrendered our privacy a long time ago.
So it's cookbook season, Stephen, and of course, you're the most prolific live fire cookbook author out there, so you know what it's all about. Last time you were on, we talked about the impending release and finishing of something called Project Griddle, which has now been released. So what are you hearing in regards to it being received in the book market?
I'm hearing great things about it. By the way, I just happen to have a copy right here. So
looking good as always.
I'll show it off to everybody. It's so interesting listening to the ad right before I came on about the Pits and Spits griddle. It seems like all the manufacturers are getting into griddles. Griddles are, look, first of all, I want to reassure your listeners and you, I am not turning my back on barbecue. I'm still, I've got umpteen million grills. I fire them up every day. But there are a lot of things a griddle can do that a grill can't. So I see them as partners, companions, not competitors.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because it'll be a month ago next week for the monthly embedded correspondence, and one of my 100% assurity questions, and I know assurity isn't a word, but I made it up, 100% assurity question was, do you think that we have reached the end of the griddle fascination? Or, I mean, they've just shot in a meteoric rise over the last, let's say, 5 or 6 years, maybe even a little bit longer than that. Do you think we're tailing on that fad or that hype, or no?
Honestly, I think we're just getting started. And when I started in this business, which was admittedly a long time ago, the grill was not a regular part of our lives. Okay, we grilled on special occasions. Now the grill is an extension of our kitchen. We use it 4 or 5 nights a week. I think the same thing is happening with the griddle. Going to happen with the griddle. It's just going to become an extension of our kitchen, and just another way that we do great outdoor cooking.
Typically, when you're writing a book, you are traveling a trail of some sort. Was there an existing griddle trail where you were able to knock down?
Well, there certainly was, starting with Spain, where the plancha is the cooking device par excellence. And even guys like mega superstar chef and humanitarian Jose Andres from Spain got his start working the griddle at a seaside restaurant on the coast of Spain. That's sort of like being a short order cook. I went to Japan, where teppanyaki, cooking on a griddle, popularized in the States by Benihana, but it's still extremely popular in Japan. In fact, what got me writing this book, I scored one of those A5 Wagyu steaks, super generously marbled, amazing. If you tried to grill that, it would just catch on fire. So I did it on a griddle the way I'd seen it done in Japan on a teppan. It was amazing. So that was kind of my entryway. But to continue our circuit, the griddle at your local Greasy Spoon or diner in the United States, the Piastra in Italy, the Champa in Argentina. I mean, you find griddling literally all over the world.
I guess I don't even make that connection until you're just talking about it out loud, that you go to the diner and, of course, you're cooking short order on a flat top. I mean, that's it, right?
Yeah. that's the beating heart of the diner. And I mean, everything from a Philly cheesesteak to a smash burger to hash browns, eggs over easy. They wouldn't exist without the griddle.
The biggest complaint that I hear about a griddle from people is, it's fine. However, you cook 2 or 3 things on it. Why do I need it if I'm only going to be cooking 2 or 3 things on it? How do people work on expanding what they can cook?
Well, obviously, the first thing is to buy Project Griddle, where I have over 100 recipes, everything from breakfast and appetizers to desserts on the griddle.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have developed, there's no one method of griddling, and I've developed a half a dozen different techniques, including my friend smoking on a griddle. So I have a recipe for smoked barbecue chicken on the griddle with Alabama white sauce. Really proud of it. You can steam griddle, you can stir griddle. I love the divide and conquer method, where if you're cooking a really thick sandwich like a New Orleans muffaletta, you break it in half, you cook the halves, and the advantage of that, you do it on parchment paper. You put the cold cuts upside down so they get crisp, which you don't even get in a real muffaletta. So I would argue that a griddle is actually better for cooking a lot of dishes.
What's the best part about griddling?
Well, I mean, for me, first of all, it's the flavor, because it's always the flavor. It's the versatility. It's big. You can cook a lot of food on it.
Yeah.
It's easy. You can fire it up in 5 minutes, 3 minutes, really. It's super easy to clean. It just gets better and better seasoned every time you use it. I don't want to praise its virtues too much for fear that people will think I'm abandoning the grill, because the grill is fantastic too. But it's really quite amazing what you can do on a griddle.
Have we become snobs to a certain degree here in 2025, where if we spend a segment and you were just revering the griddle, that you think there would be backlash? I say this in a loaded sense because last week I had Michael Simon on. We were talking about whatever cookbook he had that has just recently been released. I want to say he took a shit on gas grills, but he was in a squatting position. Everything appeared to be going in that way. Might have stopped short. And I'm thinking to myself, I get where he's coming from. Like, don't be afraid of coals. The boost of flavor that you can get over charcoal versus just a gas grill burner is different and unique. I get all of that. But I don't know if we should be trying to say one is better than the other. If you have access to only a gas grill or only a griddle and that's what you have to use, then go at your culinary imagination's best and do everything that you possibly can. And if you can add something down the road, fine. But I don't know if we want to get to a point where we're looking down on somebody because they like griddling or they like gas grilling only.
I do not look down on gas grillers. I own gas grills. I use them. However, I prefer charcoal, and even more than that, I prefer grilling over wood. All of these things are cooperative. All of them help make you a better cook and help you feed your family and friends better. And that's really what it's all about.
Is a smash burger the best burger?
No, a smash burger is just a special kind of burger. I mean, and by the way, people think a smash burger, like the whole point of it is it's thin and you put 2 of them on a bun. The whole point of a smash burger, if you do it right, is the edges of the burger fry and crisp, so that when you bite into a smash burger, you get a crunch, which you don't get on a conventional burger. So that is a beautiful thing. But, a big, thick, juicy burger, cheeseburger, inside out cheeseburger, which is one of my favorites, where you grate the cheese and put it on the inside of the burger, which is a great way to keep a burger moist, even if you cook it to the safe temperature of 160 degrees. They're all different. I hate this sort of one is better than the other, whether it's a grill, whether it's a burger, whether it's a dish. They all make our lives richer.
In an effort to sound like a complete hypocrite, after I just got done on my soapbox about not looking down on people that use gas grills. Smash burgers are the best burgers. Oh my God, they're so good. I was late to the game. I cook them all the time now, and I don't want any other burger. In fact, I will go to restaurants that serve smash burger. You know what is a little disheartening? When you go to the restaurant and they say smash burger on the menu, but they really come out and it's, let's say, a light press at best. I feel like I've been sold a bill of goods. Do you feel, we're just speculating, do you think the restaurant is a little scared to go full bore smash burger, or do you think that there's just a bit of ignorance?
I think it's a little bit of both. Although a proper smash burger is labor intensive, right? You got to start with a hot griddle. You got to cook it long enough to get the grease on the outside. You got to smash it really hard. You got to pay attention to it. So if you're trying to turn out 50 burgers in 20 minutes, that's hard to do. Hard to do it right.
Would love to go to George Motz's Burger America out there in New York City and watch him work that flat top. I bet it's. Have you been by chance?
I haven't, but I'm actually heading to New York next month, and that is on my destination list.
All right, so we'll get a full report from you next time you're on, as far as what George Motz is putting down.
But we're talking smash burgers, but one of the best things about a griddle is fish, and especially delicate fish like snapper or gray sole or flounder. Fish. These are fish that are too delicate to cook on a grill, but on a griddle they're fantastic. So. Any rate, I've, now I'm going to come down off my soapbox because I think I've made the point how much I love griddles. And I think if you check out Project Griddle, you'll find newfound respect for them too.
Available where, of course, books are sold, or Amazon.com or wherever you like. Plenty of other live fire books out this year. Are there any that have caught your eye in particular this season?
Well, Meathead's the Meathead Method. I have great respect for Meathead. He's a great writer, a serious thinker, a conscientious scientist, and that book is full of wisdom. So I like that one a lot.
As somebody who has been achieving of this metric, New York Times bestseller, can you explain to me what that actually means and how you get it?
Yeah, actually, so there is an undisclosed number of bookstores around the country, and some of them are independents, and some of them are outlets of chain stores, and they report back to the New York Times on which books are selling the best. The New York Times tabulates those results and comes up with the bestseller list. Now, obviously, they don't disclose what those individual stores are, because if we knew them, we'd send our friends in to buy a zillion copies, and then we would become bestsellers. So it's kept quite secret, but it's as simple as that.
Let's also mention that in less than 4 months, if I'm not mistaken, the 2025 version of Barbecue University takes place at the Alisal Ranch in, is it Solvang, California, or Solvang, California?
Solvang, California. Yep.
September 2nd through the 5th.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. And also, I had sort of lost track of time myself, but this is the 25th anniversary of Barbecue University.
Really?
So I know.
Wow.
It's amazing. Yeah. It started at the Greenbrier.
Yeah.
And then we moved to Colorado Springs at the Broadmoor. And then we were down at Montage Palmetto Bluff in South Carolina. And now we're out at the most beautiful property of all, Alisal Ranch, 10,000 acres, 125 horses, 40 grills and smokers, outdoor classroom, as it were. And you get to eat the fruits of your studies. And we always like to say about Barbecue University, the only marks you get are grill marks.
What's on the agenda? And if somebody's going to be signing up as a enrollee, should we expect it to be a little more griddle forward this year, considering the book release?
Yes, we have a lot of griddles. We brought in a lot of griddles last year. We will be griddle forward, but we will also be working with smokers. I always have to do a brisket of some sort, right? Because and I want people to walk away with that. Always do a pork shoulder of sorts. We always do ribs. This year we're going to be doing lamb ribs because I am really tripping on lamb ribs.
Love them.
this year. That's great. A lot of griddle fare. Everything from breakfast to dinner to dessert on the grill.
When you aren't in class, like you, Stephen Reichland, what are you typically doing when you're not conducting class?
Well, writing takes up most of my time, and writer is what's on my passport. So, while I do make television and teach and do a million public speaking, a lot of other activities, writing is really the core of what I do. Believe it or not, I'm actually working on a memoir. Sort of how a guy with a kid from Baltimore with a degree in French literature became, the global grilling authority. So that's occupying most of my time. Also working on a book for 2027, because that's how far we think ahead, called Barbecue University. And it'll really be the best, it'll be a teaching book, best recipes and best techniques and teaching lessons from Barbecue University.
I noticed that you were at the HPB Expo in New Orleans a month or so ago. Is this the first time you've attended the HPB Expo, or have you been many times?
Oh, no. I've been there many times. First time in a while, but I used to go every year.
You could pick only one place to eat in New Orleans. Where are you going?
Oh, boy, that's a toughie. So there's a place called Nola Dakar, and it is a fusion of Senegalese cuisine and New Orleans cuisine. And it was a really interesting food menu. So that's, I think, where I would send people.
Where would I find the best Sazerac?
Well, there's a bar called Sazerac. That'd be a pretty good place to start. And they also they've got a great jazz program. But it's sort of hard to find a bad Sazerac in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm. I would imagine, since it's kind of.
And by the way, my last Cafe du Monde, which is the famous breakfast place for beignets and Cafe au lait, they have a branch at the airport, so that made a very nice arrival and departure. And I bought a couple cans of their coffee, and I'm like totally hooked on that coffee now. The coffee with chicory.
Is that the first time you've had it?
Oh no, a zillion times.
Oh, yeah.
But I kind of used to think to myself, I'll drink that when I'm new in New Orleans, and when I'm home, I'll do my little espresso. But I've just really been enjoying that lately.
Go to Memorial Day recipe for Stephen Reichland, since it's Monday.
Well, heretical as it sounds, they're going to be lamb ribs, because I really love lamb ribs. Yep. I've been playing around with, I'm writing the side dish chapter of the Barbecue University book. So I've been playing around with how to take the 3 classic American side dishes, which are mac and cheese, coleslaw, and baked beans, and how to give them a college education. Okay. So for the coleslaw, what we're going to do this year, I'm going to cut the coleslaw into wedges. I'm going to char it over a wood burning grill, then slice it, then make the coleslaw.
Wow.
In terms of what I'm doing to the mac and cheese and what I'm doing to the baked beans, well, you have to go to barbecuebible.com and find that out.
All right, fair enough. This is Stephen Reichland. You can find him at barbecuebible.com, which is where you should be going to get those other 2 recipes that he was just talking about. Stephen, always appreciate the time. Have a great Memorial Day, and we'll talk to you in a few months.
Thank you so much to you too. You always ask great questions, and grill on.
All right. Stephen Reichland right there. Yikes. Get on the microphone.
Where?
Well, it's right there. Put on the headphones.
I sound sick.
Let's have it.
Here.
Oh, right there.
Oh. Wait, don't put me on the camera.
You're not on the camera.
Okay.
What do we have here?
We have the GQ barbecue t-shirt.
All right.
Woo-hoo! Yep. I went there. Oh, this is Maddie, by the way.
Yeah.
I was in the great state of Colorado from Friday to today.
Yes.
And on Friday night, on our way back, or not on our way back, on our way to the hotel.
Yes.
We went to GQ barbecue.
Oh, shit.
We did.
How was it? 1 out of 10.
I would rate everything. I would give it a 9.
9.
Everything was good. My
Almost
sandwich
perfect.
was good. The brisket was good. The pork was good.
Yes.
I even tried the barbecue sauces. They were all good.
Wow.
I liked the spicy one, The cheese fries were good. The mac and cheese was good.
Wow.
And also,
A lot of
he
good.
makes his own ice cream.
That's right. Well, he's kind of has a on the sly ice cream empire.
Yeah. Made with milk from Colorado cows specifically. And he gave me the whole rundown on why it's Colorado cows.
Because they're in
So-
Colorado.
Well, he got milk now. Yes, but he got milk from 6 different towns, I
Yes.
believe. And the one that he thought was the best is in Colorado.
Huh.
So that's what he uses to make the cows. the ice
Unofficial,
cream.
official Colorado embedded correspondent Dennis Busso had GQ barbecue last night. How about that?
I got a t-shirt too.
Dennis, which one did you go to? Did you go to Thornton? That one's a wagon from what I heard.
It was pretty, it was
It's
nice.
a wagon? Yeah, all right.
It was nice. And it was busy. The line was very long when we got there.
Wow.
But it moved very fast.
All right, so don't be discouraged if you show up and there's a long line. They'll move you through expeditiously. And delicious morsels waiting for your mouth. Mm-hmm. So I hear. I'll have to go out my own
Very good.
someday. All right. Well, thanks for bringing the shirt down, man.
You're welcome.
All right. God bless. That's Maddie right there. Sorry, didn't mean to drum roll again. Whoop. So I'll do a costume change, obviously, when we're in between segments here. Don't worry, Wes. I'll turn the camera off when I do the costume change. Hey, Primo Grills continues to be a sponsor of this show, which we love, offering you the real ability to do true two-zone cooking. Best way to manage a fire, the best way to cook with confidence. As we all know, getting a two-zone fire in a round ceramic cooker isn't very realistic. Why? Because it's round. Enter Primo. And the game-changing oval design, the shape gives you the ability to execute that two-zone setup that you desire. Also, giving you other ceramic grill benefits as well, like fuel miserness. That's also not a word. Really, when you break it down, there's more than 60 different ways to configure the Primo, so you're only limited by your culinary imagination. Lots of accessories as well, only sold through dealers. Find one near you. Go to primogrill.com. That's primogrill.com. And find a dealer nearest you. Touch those ovals. Then take the best one home. And don't buy down because you're a cheap ass. Bone out a little bit. Nobody was ever disappointed because they bought too big of a grill. Everybody disappointed when they go, I think my grill's big enough. Should have bought up. Remember me. Should have bought up. All right, we're back with Wes Wright. Stick around. We'll be right
You're
back.
listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
All right, we thank Steven Reichland for joining us last segment. This portion of the show being brought to you by Pit Barrel Cooker. The most unbelievable outdoor cooking device on the planet, currently available in 3 sizes and a host of accessories. It's for beginners and professionals alike. Visit pitbarrelcooker.com and tell them I sent you personally. Me, R-E-M-P-E, Rempe. My next guest tonight runs the cookoutnews.com website, and he's here on his monthly appearance on the Barbecue Central Show, where we talk about the business of the live fire industry. A multiple-time Barbecue Central Show's Guest Hall of Fame nominee, Wes Wright, joining us on the show. Wes, we have a YouTube poll question of the week that we're asking everybody, including all guests. So we're going to ask you, number 2, did you know that both Memphis in May and Smoke Slam happened this past weekend? No
I knew
lie.
Memphis in May did. I didn't know Smoke Slam did.
Of course, you would know that with the invention of Smoke Slam, those two went directly head-to-head starting last year with the sole purpose, Smoke Slam, going head-to-head, same weekend on purpose that Memphis in May has gone. You would also perhaps remember that Memphis in May moved out of Tom Lee Park, and Smoke Slam moved into Tom Lee Park with a little extra you-know-what. By the way, I feel like Ariana Grande. I did a costume change in the break and dropped my GQ T-shirt on that Maddie brought me down. You like this?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Very nice.
I didn't see any changing too. You spared me from that.
Yeah, that's right. I originally had this on, the Smoke Shop T-shirt. I might have turned it inside out on the way. Yeah. The Smoke Shop T-shirt from Andy Husbands, who I think just opened up yet another smoke shop out there in the New England area. Let's call it Maine or wherever the hell Boston is. So lots of things to get to here, Wes. Not to bore you with my clothes changing and Smoke Slam talk. Weber and Blackstone finally close it down. Anything you've heard about it since the deal has been officially finalized?
No, I haven't heard any new news. It's just been, the same stuff. Roger took over as CEO as planned, and they're off to the races. We'll see what happens next there. Have you heard anything since then?
I've just been feverishly corresponding with my best friend Roger Daly, new CEO of Weber, saying, when do you think you might come on the show? Or before that, it was, hey, I heard everything closed. Can you confirm or deny? He said, yes, you have really good sources. Everything's closed. So he wants about a month in the new position before he comes on the show to talk all about it. I'm not sure exactly what he's going to be able to give us from a details standpoint, but you'll be the first one that I tell, so you can use your pad and pen to take copious notes and then put a story on cookoutnews.com after the fact. Here's what I said during the Embedded Correspondent last month. I don't have the sound to replay it, but I'll paraphrase it. The preseason griddle top that Weber came out with, easily the best innovation in the history of outdoor freestanding griddles. Yes or no?
The biggest, that's tricky. I don't know, because I haven't used it. You said you said it's great, so I don't know that's the best innovation.
Okay, well, guess what? You're wrong. It is the best. I used it again this past weekend. I mean, I don't know how indestructible a tank really is, but it appears that part of this preseason recipe was a 4th cup tank, because there is 0.0, like my grade point in high school, 0.0 rust, not even surface rust, not even a hint of rust, not even a weep of rust on that griddle top. And I have, short of just like letting water run on it and throwing heaps of salt on it because I'm a dick, it's not even big. It doesn't even fear rust at all. It's just rebuffing it at every turn. It's got to be the best innovation perhaps ever in the history of live fire. Better than the flame or wood.
Wow. At least you're measured in your superlatives there. But have you tried not to knock that, because I do think it looks really cool. Like I said, I haven't tried it, but going off your recommendation and just looking at it looks really nice. And that is, a pain point for sure. Have you tried any of, like, they're, kind of not as well known. They're originally a French company. They're in Canada too. They have a enameled cast iron cooktop for a griddle. So you can use metal utensils on it. And it's a griddle top, but it's just like an enameled cast iron pan. But it, they even had it at the HPB Expo with like a thing of steel wool there that you could use on it to show that it wouldn't chip. So
who's the company?
It's called Eno, E-N-O.
Oh,
They've been around for like ever, but they're just not well known in the States. They're known in France.
France. Yes, my favorite country. And this will not chip because I remember when Weber, like the biggest thing when I first got into live fires, especially doing the podcast thing, was that you bought a Weber grill, a Summit, or a Genesis, and it had the porcelain coated cast iron grill grates, which I thought were just the balls. But then it was like, well, don't use a regular brush on it. You can take the porcelain coating right off, but not a issue with this.
Yeah, it's supposed to be, I asked the guy, and like I said, they had demonstration there that if you could use metal utensils, because I've used nonstick griddle tops. I had nonstick griddle before as well, and I like using metal utensils, and I'm kind of rough anyways, so it always scared me that I was just gonna obliterate that coating. But it's a lot stronger than anything else. So, it's just maybe it's the greatest thing since fire was invented. I don't know.
Do you think that Eno is going to be on the way into the USA with this?
I know they have plans to. I've talked to a guy there that is extremely passionate about the brand, and they're working on getting distribution and moving to the US. So I'd be eager to see what it's all about.
Green Mountain Grill Ledge Prime 2.0. What do we like about it?
Yeah, I've been testing that for couple 2-3 months. One, I really liked, and one thing I noticed when I was putting it together is every little detail that I've used on other pellet grills where I was like, oh, I wish they did this differently. I felt like Green Mountain Grills, they designed it to fix that. Like, I hate for temperature probes when they put like the rubber grommet in and other grills and that like pops off and tears. Here it was like a hinged design, so it was just metal that wouldn't fall apart. They had a light inside the cook box, which is essential for me because I cook year round, and I hate wearing like a miner's light on my head or setting up lights. So I love that. It was really smoky. I love the physical buttons on it, and they have I've used some of them, and I'm have more coming on the way, but I don't think you can beat their accessories. They have a rotisserie, that side burner, that pizza oven that actually, like, it's not just a hood with a pizza stone on your grill grates. It actually has like ducting into your fire pot. Yep. So it's really cool. Plus it just seems smokier than other pellet grills I used.
Is that at the lower temperatures or just traditionally at any temperature?
At any temperatures. I mean, that thing, it gets up to 550, and even at 550, which, is pretty clean burning there, but there would be some smoke. My eyes would know when I would open the lid. So
what do you think viability of Green Mountain Grills is in the next 2 to 5 years?
I'm not sure. I think the jury's still out there. I think, they have a good network of dealers as long as they can kind of keep what they're doing, and you're going to get some fallout with all the tariffs, whether, whatever's happening there throughout the summer. I think it'll just be about weathering the storm and seeing how well capitalized they are to be able to maintain that.
What are you seeing from a tariff standpoint just across the board?
Traeger announced yesterday that they're going to lay off people and they're restructuring. 80% of their grills are made in China, so that's a problem. So they have a whole, one, they raise prices, and then they're doing all sorts of cost-cutting measures. Weber raised prices too, pretty much across the board on everything imported, and then even their locally produced grills, have globally sourced parts, so some of those got a price increase. Solo Stove got, I think, delisted since we talked last, so and that's all from tariff fallout. That's, squarely what it's from.
All right, so you broached the subject. They were on my topic list, the Solo Stove. They're coming to market with a new cooler that is also an air conditioner. Why would I care about that?
Yeah, so they bought Icy Breeze about a year and a half ago.
Wow.
That company that they bought them for, I think, $30 million. Then kind of out of nowhere, last fall they killed the brand. They said that the product wasn't good enough to meet like Solo Stove standards, and they killed the brand, and they promised they'd come out with a new cooler. And so this is their new cooler using that intellectual property that they, purchased from Icy Breeze. But I don't know if you're outside at like, sporting events and, for your kids or something like that, nice breeze would feel good.
What standards does Solo Stove have these days? I mean, their stock is literally trading at sub 10 cents a share.
Yeah, well, it's delisted, so it's stuck there until they apply to get it back listed again. But it's a lot of their products have good design. I've used a whole bunch of them. I have most of their catalog, I'd say. Yeah, I like what they bring to the table, and what they brought, it's a lot more refined looking. I thought the Icy Breeze looked kind of cheap with, like the plastic used on the ducting, the cooler looked cheap. This looks a lot nicer. And it has some neat features too. It has like a portable power pack that goes into it that you can also run like USB devices, and it also has a mister too to keep you cool. So it has some nice little features that the other product didn't have. But speaking of stock prices, do you think Traeger has traded down to like $1.28 over the past 3 months? I want to say was their low.
Yeah.
Do you think they get below $1 and get a notice of delisting?
I mean, we're probably tippy-toeing on that fine line at this point. I mean, I know the last time I brought up what is the biggest joke on Live Fire right now, Solo Stove, and John Solberg was quick to say, well, if we're going to shit on Solo Stove for being sub $1, then we're going to have to be quick to go take a dump on Traeger because they're not too far behind. I keep thinking that they're going to start trending up. I don't know what that means, but at least not into the penny stock world. But this just goes to show what kind of finance major I was in high school and in college. Not a very good one because they're trending down and not trending up. So it certainly wouldn't surprise me. And what does that do?
Yeah,
what does that do to Traeger then? If they get delisted, then do people get fired? Do people run away? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, I think they would fight tooth and nail to stay listed through whatever they have to do, but it makes it hard to access capital for the brand. Both one, you don't have as much equity that's liquid, and then also just to get debt, it's harder when you're not publicly traded. So, I think they'd fight their hardest to stay listed, but with all the tariff stuff, some bad news on that front, and that it could easily make them drop significantly.
Are you surprised they hadn't sold before this?
I'm not sure who they would sell to, I guess.
But isn't that the model of this? Like they come in, you run it for 4 or 5 years, you sell, which I think they did, and then you do it for another 4 or 5 years, sell again. It seems like they missed that second sell.
Yeah, well, when you're private, that's definitely the plan. When you're public, I think, originally before the whole market kind of tanked for grills, they wanted to be a legitimate brand and keep growing. And, pellet grills only have, single digit share of the overall grill market. So I think, their plan is keep growing.
Weather strong cabinet line. Should I care? And if so, why?
Yeah, I think it's one, speaking of tariffs, they're made in Florida, so there's that plus that on a cost basis it's not going to change. But I think it's neat, especially if you're in outdoor kitchens or you have a business that sells them, that they're flat packed cabinets, right? So you can if you have a place that's hard to get to, rather like in your backyard, that's rather than carrying a fully made cabinet back there, you can bring it flat packed and put it together, and you can get pretty good. I've had some great quality with flat pack cabinets before. So they just advertise that you can quick turnaround, cheaper shipping because they're not shipping a full cabinet. So it's supposed to help the consumers with lower cost and quicker turnaround.
I thought the outdoor kitchen space was ready to pop a few years ago with the well-priced offerings from both Grilla and Charbroil, and yet here we are in the almost middle of 2025. All this time later, no one talking about their great outdoor cooking shelves fridges and other stuff. Why did this fail to launch?
I think it's the overall housing market, right? I think their outdoor kitchen sales are dependent on cheap access to credit and also housing starts, which have been at historic lows for years. And you get brands like Middleby, which, they have like Masterbuilt, Char Griller, and Kamado Joe, but they also have like Viking and, some of those other premium ranges that you build into outdoor kitchens. And every quarter, I feel like they're like, we think we're at the bottom of the housing starts and things are going to be picking up. But like that's the story every single quarter, and then something else happens. So I think that there will be a turnaround there, and a lot of people will get into outdoor kitchens, like with those cheaper offerings and the modular designs. But it's whenever the economy kind of turns around, and we're stuck in that cycle right now.
Any great story you're working on that we should be looking for in the next couple of weeks?
Let me think. I have more grill reviews coming. I just got a Coyote pellet grill today shipped, so I'm eager to unpack that over the weekend and see how that is, because it looks really nice.
You got to put that together.
Expo. I don't think so. I haven't opened the box, but it's like a refrigerator sized box. That good. Weighs like 400 pounds. So I think I just have to open it up and it'll be ready to go. But I'm excited to try it out. They actually just launched new products too. They're like Gen 3 line, which look really nice and felt nice at the expo. So
we'll look forward to that. You can read it over cookoutnews.com. You can see Wes right here every month, third Tuesday, 35 past the first hour. Wes, always appreciate the time, and we'll see you in June.
Yep. Thanks, Greg.
You got it. Our pal Wes Wright. Also on social at Cookout News, if you care to follow him there as well. So be on the lookout for the new review when he gets it up and running of the Coyote. I think I was at the HPB Expo when Coyote originally came out. Took a handful of years off, and then was most recently in the one in Louisville a couple of years ago, because that's close to me. They were there again, coming out with new stuff, and then back again this year with new stuff. Great. Also good to hear about the Green Mountain Grill Ledge Prime 2.0. Of course, I'm a big fan of Green Mountain Grills. Yeah. Jason Baker and the gang out there making great stuff. And I will stand by my declaration that the best thing in the griddle market, and perhaps live fire in general, is Weber's ability to have created the preseason griddle top. If I can remember, I'll probably ask Susie and Triple T about it when we get into the second hour. All right, let's wrap that first hour, by the way. We'll be back right after this.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, we thank Wes Wright for joining us last segment. Aunt S is doing it live here this evening.
We'll do it live.
Potted meat, grilled pineapple, large glass of ice, ready for hour number 2. Look at this guy. He's coming back in like a house of fire. Good for you. Potted meat. I was just talking about potted meat with my pal Jason over at the Howard Stern Show. He had some kind of similar, or it might have been a conversation on the show about weird stuff. Oh, yeah. Howard was talking about chipped ham. I was familiar with chipped ham, especially a brand called Isley's Chipped Chopped Ham. Evidently, that's an Ohio, Western Pennsylvania, West Virginia thing. I've had it. It's neither good nor bad. You can eat it and not get sick. I will not eat potted meat, I can tell you that. Not after that event on the plane. Anyway, we are pointing to the second hour. So you go ahead and refresh your libations. We'll be back here shortly. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show right here on the Barbecue Central Network. Stick around. We'll be right back.